Yo, so Roberto Blake's coming on. I want to get his take on this. I want to get his take on.
It's a conspiracy.
By the way, the reason we're talking about Cuck the Tuck and all that kind of stuff is there's this show that oh, there he is. Yeah, that was quick. My boy's waiting in the wings, ready to watch this show, dude. He's ready to be a part, dude. But ready to be a part of the community. Damn, dude.
Roberto, come inside.
Okay, 1 second, Roberto. I got you, dude. I got you.
Man, OBS, I'm just figuring out how to learn it.
Boom, Roberto Blake on.
Roberto Blake. Yo,
Mike's
nice
off.
hat, dude. That's leather.
Mike's off, my guy.
Mike's off.
Boom, he's live.
What about now?
You're live, dude. It's beautiful.
Oh, hey, what's up?
Got that. What's up?
Roberto Blake,
Hey,
guys, give it up for Roberto Blake. We haven't had him as a guest for too long. It's good to have you back, man.
Yeah, no, you guys are so like late night. It's like I'm like 37. I'm old. This is bedtime.
Dude, we're rocking, dude. You're looking good, man. Yo,
yeah, thanks.
Tell me, okay, I got to get your hot take on this. I wish you had been here for the last segment about these cryptos with influencers. They're pumping things that they're not going to be around in a year, 2 years, 3 years. They're flash in the pan, and they just take money from their fans. How do you feel about that?
Well, I don't like it. Like, and then in general, right now we just have like this absurd like crypto like scam mania going on. I mean, you've seen like all these WhatsApp comments, like, and you would think that YouTube would be able to do something about it. And I'm like, how like they've literally seen people's entire channels get hacked for crypto scams, and their whole security team has had to restore channels. It's been small YouTubers, it's been big YouTubers. It takes a lot longer with small YouTubers. Even my friend John Prosser, I don't know if you guys know Front Page Tech, like not only did they hack his channel, but then because they changed the back end of his AdSense, it took 2 months for them to get their ad money back.
Oh my God. They just went and played around with the AdSense like those idiots.
They changed the bank routing. This one girl I know, she got fleeced for like $30,000 because they changed her ads. I'm not joking. Yeah. It's like,
man, that's bullshit. That's like robbing someone's house and then just breaking shit.
It's like really bad.
On top of robbing them. It's like, don't just break shit. Like they just like mess up their AdWords. So like what a nightmare. Can you imagine you had AdWords running and then someone just changes the thing? You're like, oh, account drained. Oops.
Yeah, it goes to like, because you guys know it like deposits on the 21st. So then instead of it going to you, it goes like to somebody else. It was like this whole thing. And
my God.
Yeah.
Yeah. Crypto seems to be in this weird bubble phase, and I'm doing my best to bring it to pop.
Yeah. It's the new wild west, you know. It's like, it's the new, like, all right. So you remember initially, like you had all of the initial platforms that were competing for each other back about roughly like 15 years ago. Like everything was new.
Right.
You had 30 flavors of everything, literally 30 flavors of everything, right? That's what crypto is now.
Of websites, but now it's like
It's like before. It's like when there was like Friendster and there was like Gmail chat. No, there's like these weird. There was
this whole like there used to be Google Video, Vidler. There were like 30. People don't realize there were like 30 YouTube competitors, right?
Remember ICQ? Do you guys remember ICQ when I was in high school?
Yes, I do. Like, I remember.
So silly, dude. That's all.
I remember that. I remember Java applets. I remember Excite. I told you, I'm old.
Right. Same, dude.
37 over the hill. Like,
yeah, I remember when Napster came out. Like Napster was like such a big deal. It was like a music stealing platform kind of thing. Or
Napster was. So it's interesting because, like, I mean, ultimately the foundation for everything we have now in a new media economy, basically you could trace a lot of it back to what Napster did by showing that people wanted on-demand digital. We wouldn't have iTunes without Napster.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, it's been a wild. It's been like 5 Wild Wests in a row. You could almost say like there's been like the internet, like it's just like,
every time
like
there's
the
a
90s.
new thing where people have to figure out the tech, and a bunch of scammers come in and try to make a quick buck. This crypto one is interesting though, because the money people like weren't what made the bubble of the websites was investors put their money in, who typically are more sophisticated. Like I mean what are called accredited investors.
Yeah, generally speaking, yes.
Yeah.
So what's happening now is that in a lot of these ICOs, it's not accredited investors. It's just like random people with stimulus checks, and they heard about crypto from a friend, and they're saying, "Oh, it's the next thing." And there's the Logan Paul fans.
Do you think that some of it is also the concept of the rebellion of the retail investor? Because I mean, no one likes to hear from like the God, what's his name? Cooperman. Like, I think it's Lee Cooperman I'm thinking of. It's Lee, right? Like, I know his last name's Cooper. Billionaire investor, goes on MSNBC and Fox a lot of time.
Yeah.
Okay. So like, yeah, like he, I think it's Leon Cooperman. Like he like referred to retail investors as unsophisticated when he was like dunking on the meme stocks and GameStop, Wall Street bets. But now with what you're seeing with crypto, it's like this, no one likes to hear it from like grandpa and high, but like, you know, did he have a point in the fact that you have people that are largely maybe uninformed and sometimes obviously then being gassed up by these people that have no real financial background. I mean, it's like influencers don't have a financial background. They're not, you know, with the exception of like, obviously like maybe your Graham Steffens or something like that, right? But like they have no background, but they're then just so charismatic, and then people are taking their word at it and investing in a very, well, as Lee would say, unsophisticated way.
Yeah.
And so like, it sounds pretentious and elitist and gatekeeping, but then it ends up playing out. So it's like, 100%. I'm not trying to like fight for the establishment here, but at the same time, it's like, don't they have a point?
They do. People are, I feel like what they're rebelling against is that the establishment can make rules to protect themselves, to kick away the ladder from the common man. I think that's unfair. Like they'll give themselves bailouts.
That was GameStop, I feel like.
Yeah, with GameStop, there were these random outages that seemed to be asymmetrically favoring hedge funds. And so you've got things like that going on, and people think, oh, that's unfair, so they rebel against that. But I completely agree with you that this idea that somehow the man on the street knows something more about.
We're not armed with the information that these people are. I mean, you saw it with we had some people here, and they probably should have been indicted. We had some people here in Georgia that had information on because of the pandemic. They were briefed, and they went ahead and they made moves on their stocks based on that privileged information before it would ever go public. We don't have access to that information. We don't have access to that, so you can't call it a fair playing field. But
even if you do have that information, I mean, think about playing baseball against a professional who's done it all his life. It's like you might have the same like visual information, right? What are you going to do with it? You can't do the same thing that the pro does. He's been
that's why I'm saying the idea of an even playing field is even farcical itself.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, I think look, if people are looking for upside on crypto, I mean, my thought usually is that if you've heard about it from a friend that usually isn't into crypto, never invest in that thing, because it's reached, once you hear it from the regular guy, the regular Joe, the Logan Pauls of the world, like the people who are just like it's over. It's over. It's reached too many people. There's no option.
If you hear it from your friend that's soldering motherboards in the other room, then it's legit.
Yeah. It's like if the guys who are like plugged in deep, they go, "Hey, I heard about this new thing." That might be a really good opportunity, depending on what the project is. If your
friend's dad tells you, it's over. Your friend's dad, forget it. Not in the game, not sophisticated enough.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think it's unfortunate. I think that something interesting you did bring up, though, that like in terms of them rigging and changing the rules, what do you think about the idea that like these the clearinghouses with Robinhood are basically underwritten by the banks for the FDIC insurance and everything like that, but guess who else is? The payment processors that then decide what is and isn't allowed to be transacted on the internet, and what's allowed to be paid out in terms of online internet publishing and things like that, which is where you're seeing them then exert control over various different websites. I'm sure you guys saw what happened with like OnlyFans, P-Hub, stuff like that. It's like, but that's coming from payment processors. Payment processors still are then beholden to the traditional financial institutions, which are then underwritten and backed by the government for coverage. So then it's ultimately just the people in that position of power deciding what gets to exist on the internet.
100%.
Right?
I mean, this has been happening with regulators forever. I think even with crypto, it's going to continue to happen, man. I mean, so you saw with crypto, they've had hard times banking. And so they can't find a bank. How do you get a bank? Well, a lot of them will require KYC and AML, know your customer and anti-money laundering laws, where you have to basically require ID. So this crypto thing, which was supposed to be private, you know, you have some privacy. Now there's this whole element of, okay, we're going to kind of make sure we know who you are. And then once we know who you are, then it's like, well, where's your money coming from? I mean, regulation is inevitable, but it's also kind of important because I hate to say this, but crypto has spawned a whole new wave of criminality because before, if you're a criminal, where do you put your money? It's not as easy as just like, oh, I just go open a bank.
Yeah. Crypto's
right?
Well, money laundering, but also Silk Road. Remember Silk Road?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, of course I remember.
And then you have the dark web, and then you have the dark web where all kinds of like, we don't even want to talk about that, but
and
like,
crypto's untrackable. Are you saying that the U.S. government is going to find
largely untrackable? It's largely untrackable.
Largely untrackable. Because I thought that was their big thing is that we're not trackable, so you can buy whatever crazy shit on the dark web.
Like the whole idea was that there was like theoretically, at least in an ethos, there was supposed to be something that would allow and give a different option and choice to consumers that want to not operate with and be beholden to and within the limitations of what these the masters of the universe want to allow for, so to speak.
Good luck.
Right?
Yeah.
I know, and I don't. For practical reasons, I'm like, oh, that's rough. How are you going to do? Because like, again, we just went through why it's like, but the thing is, it's not wrong to want some of that, but obviously there's all these downsides of how it can be weaponized or abused, and that's where the regulations come in. But then, do we really also trust the masters of the universe either to just be a different form of corrupt?
No, I mean, it's so tough. I mean,
you can buy people though on the dark web. Like you can buy people. So you know you gotta figure. I guess you do gotta track it. I mean that shit is through. Assassinations are probably through the roof.
No, that's a real thing. That's like
assassinations.
There's weird things like that in the dark web. There was I'm not gonna name who it was around and everything like that, but there was like an influencer that was having like a mental health meltdown, and people put a Deadpool on him on the dark web, like, oh my God. And it was like a whole thing, and it was like, yeah,
that's so fucked up. I shouldn't laugh at that. That's terrible.
It's one of those. I can see you laughing it off because it's like one of the absurdity, but two, it's so messed up, it's so dark that it's like
it's the absurdity though. It's like, what are you spending your time on? Are we so mad at each other? Are we so mad? Are we so angry? This is the only way left. You got to spend $10,000 to kill someone. It's insane.
Have you heard of ransomware as a service?
Yes.
Amish?
Ransomwares? No. What's ransomwares?
Like, you know, old computer viruses.
Yeah.
So they've like made a comeback because now the new thing, I mean, it's been supercharged by crypto because it's so easy to launder money now with crypto. It went from super hard mode to trivially easy. So now they do this ransomware as a service where you basically can buy all the banger like computer viruses from the past for cheap. Like I can go on the dark web, and I can go, oh, I'm gonna get like WannaCry, or there's a million of them for like $100. I go buy one of these services, whatever, and it comes with like customer service. It's like, hey, so then I infect your computer. Yeah. It locks up all your data, and I go, you need to pay me.
Oh my God.
$12,000, and I'll unencrypt it.
God.
But it's crazy because it's like there's now these companies, these ransomware companies, are operating like little tech companies because they can scale in ways they couldn't before, because like it was like getting money was hard. So now they go like, hey, if you want to talk to our customer support about how to get your like money, like your data back, about how to pay the ransom, like let us know. We're happy to help. You know,
within niche economies, there becomes the rampant possibility of like criminality. And now with what technology allows for, the reality is, I'm not being facetious when I say that like you now can very easily have super criminals because of the scale of the crime, and the amount of damage that can be done and done very easily.
Yeah.
Is like you can't, I don't think you can justify not calling it a level of super criminality. Like it sounds comic bookish, but I mean, can you really say that when someone from like a bedroom can perpetrate a level of either fraud or damage or do something like shut down a gas pipeline, a regional gas pipeline?
I thought you were going to bring this up. It's Colonial Pipeline was shut down and they had to pay millions of dollars to like these hackers.
Oh, so these guys got the virus you're talking about. They got ransomware viruses.
Yeah, and they just sent it to them. They did enough phishing attacks. You have enough employees. Wow. You're gonna get somebody.
Yeah.
And what it does is it encrypts everything. There's nothing anyone can do. You
locks
can't,
it up.
So the ransomware customer service, these hackers called them and they go, what do we do? And they go, oh, it's a pipeline. Okay, so tell them that whatever. And like they just coach them through it. They said, okay, let's get 10 million. Like how much money did they pay?
And then there's companies that operate as the intermediaries. Like they go, look, we don't want to do this, but we'll help you out if you need to pay a ransom.
Oh my
and
God.
They facilitate like, oh, you need to buy a lot of Bitcoin real quick? We'll get that to you. And then those guys then launder that Bitcoin in what are called mixers. Mixers are giant pots of Bitcoin, okay? And they act as little tumblers, like a imagine in your drying machine, right? And they're constantly money being pulled out and put in, and you throw in a bunch of money, you let it go a few cycles, you pull it out. Are you gonna pull out the same dollars you put in?
No,
dude, you're pulling out clean money, baby.
Exactly.
The whole it's almost like how in real banks, every bank has their own vault, but I guess in crypto it's one vault. So you're throwing it in the vault, and then you're getting different bills on the way out.
Yeah, it's literally it's like it's basically like it's digital money laundering, if you want to call it money.
Yeah,
but
you're right.
Did you guys hear about, this is kind of a tangent, but did you guys hear about how I think North Korea just hijacked like $2 billion from Bangladesh? Like they just stole it from some North Korean hackers got together. People are saying they're funded by the government, but they just jacked like $2 billion out of the Bangladesh government. And they're like broke, man. They're like so screwed, but they were able to just get it out with like the right.
This is what's scary. See, this is what's scary to me. This is what's scary to me is that the thing is, the people that we have in charge that are supposed to protect us are not educated and nuanced enough, and they're not specialists in technology. And technology is the new battlefield. It's like it's the new battlefield for everything. Yeah. And we don't have the average person is not taught any type of self-defense. Like I was actually talking to a friend of mine and me and her were going back and forth about this. And I was saying that, people think of self-defense only in terms of physicality. It hasn't occurred to people that you need self-defense in terms of finances and mental and emotional well-being. And that like you have people with the dark triad personality types that manipulate people and abuse them. And you have that, right? But then you also have
This is why I keep bringing up Trump, because I'm like, this guy, like we are living in the
I hadn't even thought of him when I was saying that. I was thinking of
you can kind of own people right now. You know what I mean? But sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
No, I wasn't thinking of him specifically, but sure.
Who specifically?
But Trump.
I wasn't thinking of Donald Trump specifically.
No.
He's just thinking about
talking about Trump again. Sorry.
Other psychos.
I wasn't trying to.
No, sorry, I brought that up.
But I
but I'm just gonna keep saying stuff, but I don't care.
I know.
But like so you have like that in terms of like becoming abused by somebody, right? And then you don't have any self-defense, or the average person doesn't have any self-defense training against, well, how do I protect myself financially? So like you literally have people out here in the real world, largely naked and unarmed, against the most serious threats to them because they're only thinking about getting punched in the mouth.
Yeah.
You're right. When you're right, you're right, Roberto. I mean, what can I say?
You're
talking about the Lazarus attack, by the way, Amish. That was what it was called.
The Lazarus attack?
Yeah.
I texted you like a YouTube video about it. The thing I was the North Korean bank heist where North Korea jacked a bunch of
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Oh, right.
So literally there's no bank robbers anymore. It's just keyboard warriors.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Well, it is. It's like all the military guys. A lot of them too, aren't they just like playing a video game? It's like, hey man, I fight with the Royal Air Force of whatever, and it's like, okay, just drove a video game over and bombed. Like, I don't know, drone strike them. Yeah.
Oh, that's creepy too, because then that's like where, what do we do about 3D printing?
What about it?
Right.
Well, right now, I mean, you do know that right now it's possible to make a composite weapon that's not detectable by the conventional monitors and then go into a public place, right?
This is going to be an issue. Yeah.
Yikes.
And the
even
thing
viruses.
The schematics are available for people, and the thing is, you can just go to the dark web and you can get the schematics that you need.
Yeah.
And then the materials aren't considered any problem because they're used in conventional things, and then all of a sudden,
dude, I bet on the dark web they have the next COVID strain. Some guy's sitting on it.
Don't tell me that. I'm gonna have an anxiety attack.
No. Actually, I did have a friend. He's more of an acquaintance, but he literally owns a compound out in like Thailand. And I said, why did you get that? He's like, well, because I knew COVID was coming. It's like, what did you know? What do you mean you knew COVID was coming? He's like, well, he goes, I was at a TED conference with all of the top people, right? And every night someone would give a dinner and a lecture. Like someone would host the dinner with a lecture. And one of the top virologists at one of these lectures was randomly asked, he goes, hey, what's your number one fear? And he goes, are you sure you want me to answer that? And I was like, yeah, answer it. And he goes, well, I'm scared of basically the rise of hobby gene editing, like getting into the hands of a lot of people.
Yeah,
because gene editing has gone from this tiny tech that no one was really playing with to where now it went from like governments are exploring it, researchers in the most modest of ways, to now private companies are exploring it, to now eventually the cost of having access to this technology might go down in the same way that
dude,
a personal computer has gone down in price, right? Like where it can become reasonably affordable.
People are doing it in their backyard and shit. Like people are into it. There's always a hobby market of there's always a market of small number of people that are like, I just like to work on.
But somebody's going to come up and go, I want to bring back, I want to see what that banger Black Death plague was about. Let me revive that.
They actually lost samples of that last year.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding. No, that was a real thing that happened. Yeah, that's a real thing that happened. They lost some samples of that last year.
How do you lose samples, dog?
What are we doing?
Yeah. What are we doing?
Are we closing again? I feel like things are opening, and I'm like, are we opening? Are we opening? You guys are just opening in America.
But no, it's crazy. Did you guys have heard of CRISPR Therapeutics, right?
Yeah. I know.
Yeah,
CRISPR.
they're into the gene. They're into the gene editing stuff and everything like that. They're up 7% today. They're up in the last 5 days. They're up 22%. They're up 39 in the month.
Drip.
It's like, again, and it's funny. You just were talking about the gene editing technology and everything like that. They're all in on that. And and in the last year, 106% up, dude.
Wow,
that should be terrifying.
It's coming along, so we can make super soldiers now.
Up 1,000 over the last 5 years. That's terrifying to me.
So, do you guys worry? We're all Westerners, we're all Americans, we're all capitalists. Do you guys worry that a lot of power is getting into the hands of a very few amount of people, and they're going to be the ones that own this, And then what do they do to us?
That's always been. Oh, you mean the thing that's always been for the last, 10,000, 20,000, 50,000 years?
Back to
consolidation of power into the hands of a handful of people, the hoarding of information and knowledge among a chosen few, then handed to their bloodline as per usual. Like, perish the thought. It's not like we haven't seen that play out.
Right. We've had basically 40, 50 years of it not being like that. And we think now like, oh, it's like this now.
We didn't have 30, 40, 50 years of that. We had the illusion of 30, 40, 50 years of that, Amish.
Illusion, like meaning, okay, I'm just talking about there has been a rise of a middle class, let's say, in America.
I agree with that.
It seems like it's dwindling, but 70s, 80s, 90s, it seemed like prosperous. It's doing great, whatever.
Actually,
this is the first generation.
Actually, no. There's not been a rise in the middle class. There's been the illusion of the rise in the middle class. I'll debate you on that because you know what? People think they're moving to the middle because they don't know what the top looks like. Because the reality is when what the top of what an individual can achieve becomes so disproportionately high, people don't have a sense of what velocity and momentum is. They're only imagining that they're middle class because they're middle class. They'd be middle class relative to what was possible in their parents' time.
The top is telescoping. You're saying it's like a logarithmic graph. It's moving away from them as they go up. Yeah, no, it's true. It's an illusion. It's like a pyramid scheme. It just goes higher and higher, and like you come in, it's like you're.
Well, it's more of an optical illusion than it is a pyramid scheme. It's an optical illusion. It's what is it they say? Objects may appear closer than they actually are.
Yeah, but I'm talking about like you were mentioning this too. You're saying like straight up we're going slavery, whereas I'm saying it's been 100 years of. Not everyone.
I would say I wouldn't go so far as that because again, comparatively, it's infinitely better. Only relative to what has come before, but not even relative to what is possible in the present. If you actually look at the top, meaning relativity-wise, people think they're in the middle because again, they're thinking about what came before, so they think that that's the middle relative to them, or that they think that's okay. But that's just because they don't know what peak is. Because then relative to that. You might be at the top of the bottom at best.
Right. So we're already
you're slinging bangers tonight, dude.
We're already going into this. You're saying we're going in. We're going into the.
I gotta put my
divide.
glasses on for that, dude. I'm sorry. Dude. Hold on.
That's beautiful.
Wow, dude, slinging some bangers. Holy crap.
So Roberto, you're saying it's over though?
No. I'm saying that we have to be mindful. I mean, and the thing is, I don't think it's a cause for absolute despair. I just think we need to understand what is. You know, if you know what is, that's a start. But like, make no mistake, it's like, all right, we're really going to theoretically resolve something that has just been part of how we operate as a species for the longest time. That's a little arrogant to think that we're going to do that. That doesn't mean we can't do okay, but it just means that we have to be realistic about what is.
Correct. I think progress will be the death of us all.
Probably. Well, it depends. Do we become an interplanetary species or not?
Oh no, dude! I think that's a pipe dream. It's a pipe dream perpetuated by Elon Musk.
Come on, no! You must believe, Steven. We must go to the stars.
No.
All things are possible.
It's actually a pipe dream.
Well, I mean, right now it is. We don't have the technology yet. I'm saying we need the next technology.
No. I mean, well, okay, yeah, you're right.
Like star hopping, like going into the fabric of space-time and just popping up over there. That we need something like that. This whole thing.
But we don't know if that's possible ever, though. You're saying we haven't figured it out, but what I'm saying is, there's not an indication that we could ever. It would require.
There's an indication that it's a naturally occurring phenomenon.
Yeah,
there's an indication it's a naturally occurring phenomenon.
Yeah, the flash out, flash in. There is some interesting stuff happening in that. What is it called? Quantum theory space. In the
that and with what we're seeing with particle physics and what they're seeing with dark matter, it shows us that what we believe. You know that what we believe was true is like changing and everything like that. Did you hear that we found out just like 2 or 3 years ago that there's a such thing as silicon-based life forms? We only thought there were carbon-based life forms.
Hang on, guys.
There can be a revolutionary
Y'all are trying to change the subject on me. I said there's no way we're becoming interplanetary because what planet are we going to go to? Mars?
No. I'm talking about we got to figure out how to make a teleportal portal here right to just, it's got to be like a far away place.
So I don't think we start with Mars, because I think that, like you said, I think that that's initially a little far-fetched. Even if we can get to Mars, I don't think that Mars becomes what's habitable, but it could be a staging ground for what is. I think it's more likely that we end up with space colonies. I think that we end up using things like the Lagrange points, and that we end up creating basically...
I have no idea what the Lagrange points are.
Okay, so there's... I'm trying to remember this and how it was explained to me. Because by the way, I'm not an expert on this. I'm just a space nerd, but as a hobby. But like, so the way it was explained to me is that there are specific orbital points in our gravity, and that's how we have the current space stations like now that are stable. There are stable points. There are stable points within.
I got you. I got you.
So you have to pick these specific points, because you can't just throw things up into space and then have those satellites orbiting. You have to pick these. So, and those are referred to largely as Lagrange points. So again, just the
Lagrange points. Okay.
So just to make it in layman's terms, if we utilize what we know in terms of that already to create not what we have in terms of the International Space Station, but to be able to create stable, habitable colonies. You have to remember, just like how when the West was colonized, they had to stay close to the sea. They had to stay close and they had to also found towns near rivers, because they needed transport, logistics, they needed little bases, like things of that along nature. The way. So if we start expanding into space, we have to also create our own version of trade routes and supply lines and stable points, and figure out the logistics of that, figure out what points of no return would actually look like, and create staging grounds for this and everything like that, much in the way that colonization has always worked. So that's what we'd have to do. It's far-fetched to say, oh, we're just going to terraform Mars. You don't have trade routes to Mars right now. You'd have to establish and basically build the
you'd have to have people living there.
Roads.
You have to have people living there, almost like make a little economy over there, and then they can be self-sustaining. But I'm almost more interested in, like, what about remember Deep Space Nine? They had a wormhole, and it's going way across. So I'm thinking we're Earth. There's someone like Earth and cool like us, but it's based on future technologies. There's someone cool like us way across somewhere.
Wait. It's based on future technologies? No, it's based on someone's imagination.
Well, almost everything we have right now that's scientific fact was thought up in sci-fi, largely though attributed to Isaac Asimov. You guys ever read Asimov?
Yeah. Foundation. Yeah. Great show. Great book.
I think that even in our own time, I think we're experiencing what was it, the Tetrian Empire or something in Foundation? I think that's how, or the but anyway, like the Galactic Empire in Foundation was going through a growing pains upheaval where there was possibly the threat of anarchy and a dark age and the loss of knowledge, right? I think that even right now in our own time, we're going through something similar.
Loss of knowledge.
Well, it's possible that, think about how much we rely on the internet and technology for things, to the point to where people have forgotten analog, that trade skills are becoming less and less prevalent. And think about the fact that we don't memorize phone numbers. We just rely on our device to do a lot of things. It's so the possibility realistically of us experiencing a true loss of knowledge in a dark age of some kind, if there were some kind of global catastrophe, let's say a solar flare, for example.
Oh my God.
Instead of worrying about a lot of the things that I think Elon and Bezos and them are worrying about, what about the preservation of what we currently have in some way? And I'm not just talking about environmentally, but I mean, literally, we don't have any safeguards in place for a solar flare that disrupts our existing technology and sends us back to the Stone Age.
Yeah. Even another COVID, we're not prepared for another COVID, really.
That properly. Too. Think about it.
Yeah. Even this one, they were saying get prepared for it, and
we're literally still prescribing. If you go to the hospital, they give you like water and chicken noodle soup. They have nothing for COVID still.
You just take the vaccine. That's it.
Well, that's the only solution. But that's the only solution.
But isn't it? It's like a cold. Yeah, no, I don't know. I don't know what they're gonna do with that. It just seems like you guys are open now, and it's like COVID's over. That's what it seems like. Everyone I know from America, the attitude is like it's over.
Hey, where COVID? Roberto, are you in LA?
I'm in Georgia.
So y'all are probably semi-open, right?
Yeah, we're getting pretty open ourselves.
They're not as rock and roll as Texas do. Texas, they're like,
Texas didn't give a
shit. But the thing is, we're not as rock and roll as Texas and everything like that, but we've had our share of problems that have been created.
I mean,
just
it's mishandling
happen,
of
dude.
COVID. Yeah,
these are hardships.
Look, a lot of people screwed
We're
up.
Going through hardships.
Hey, we got some big super chats. I got to read these real quick, guys. We got to be respectful. $10 from Zorro. I'm all for decentralization, but it puts so much more personal responsibility in the individual. You need to be aware getting into crypto, not only of scams, but also mistakes on your part. This is a big thing too. You're right. It's like, yeah, I agree. Tom Nash in chat, dude. What's up, man? Hey, good to see you as always. Yo, we got Zorro again, $5. Just reread Jurassic Park, and this gene science talk is giving me flashbacks.
Yeah.
Wow, dude. C Mace, $5. I can't tell if I'm too high or not high enough for this. LMAO, what has the drip become in the last 10 minutes? At Peter Sawara, $50. Thanks, man.
Wow.
Gene editing is like plastic surgery. Read the book Homo Deus.
Homo Deus.
Oh, Deus, whatever. It's part of our evolution and nature of seeking novelty.
That's interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Peter Suara. Wow.
And what? You got something, Amish?
No, I think that's it.
That's an interesting thought, that gene editing then becomes a fashionable novelty like plastic surgery.
Yeah, it's going to be the new sexy thing. Someone who can do a little magic.
Terrifying.
That's what I mean. People are going to do it at home. Like it's like like I think people will do it. It'll be like a beauty salon. You go in and they're like, "What do you want? Your nose is a little. You want to do the nose? Okay, cool. Beep, 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 beep. It just fix. Dude, everyone's going to be sexy.
It's going to be like character select.
But there's there's so many ways that gets dark though. There's so many ways.
Yeah.
A million.
Oh yeah. Well, this is what I think is okay. This is what I was saying about the small number of people having like hyperpower and working on these technologies. Like, do you think, let's just say Bezos gets a jump on it or China gets a jump on it, and then they implement it on a mass level where they go, okay, so now in China, we're only going to have super rock and roll bad boys. That's it. And that's
a terrifying prospect. I mean, China, I'm not like, I would be worried about that, but on another level, then looking at their cultural values, maybe not. The Chinese Communist Party is a whole nother topic, but then again, their cultural ethos, I don't know that it would even, I don't know that would happen. I'm more concerned about a very small group of ideological radicals basically finding a way to get a super soldier syndrome serum. That worries me a little bit more, or them getting a hold of the ability to make a retrovirus that can target specific people. That worries the hell out of me, or them using ransomware to do something further to disrupt our logistics in a way that's like ridiculous, because like, all right, shutting down the regional pipeline, that's one thing, but can you imagine if they managed to target like the most the biggest non-technology employer in like a rural or Midwestern area, they could completely cause upheaval in an entire community at scale, and they could just replicate that over and over and sow anarchy into this country if they managed to figure that out. Like that's a terrifying prospect.
That is terrifying. It's all like computer warfare now. I remember even there was, I think, Iran and Israel, like we're talking about 5-10 years ago, they were doing cyber attacks on each other on like a nuclear plant. Like I think the Israeli government funded a thing where they're doing, this is all allegedly, but like there are these cyber attacks going on between even countries where people are like, okay, we're going to mess with.
Well, our firewall is constantly getting pinged, like ting, 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 ting.
Yeah. There's been a couple of banger hackers though. I mean, there's these guys. Yeah. This is a big one. This shutting down the pipeline. Yeah. I feel like is it Anonymous, the other ones? Those guys are pretty rock and roll. Anonymous? And they even have
I don't know if they are or not. I don't know what they actually have done.
Didn't they try some social
marketing? Good market. You know what they've done? Good marketing.
Good marketing. Yeah.
They got a great brand. They got a fantastic brand.
Buy the merch. Yeah, it is a sexy brand. Dude. You know why? Because that movie. Remember that movie that was like
Vendetta?
V for Vendetta. It's sexy. Like everyone loved that movie growing up, right? And it had this revolutionary spirit.
It's one of the greatest movies of all time.
Oh yes,
so incredible.
Oh yeah,
yeah. And then
the cinematography alone in that movie is just
it's the Wachowski brothers, right?
The plot's amazing.
The writing was great, but also the execution of visual tonality in that movie is a masterclass.
Yeah. It's tight.
I knew you'd like that. I know that appeals to you, Roberto.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. What'd you think of that next movie they did where it was a Cloud Atlas? Did you think that was silly? What'd you think of that? Did you watch it?
I liked it's hard to remember that one. That was a while back. But here's the thing. But I liked the visuals a lot. I remember that much.
Yeah.
I like Elysium was interesting to me.
Yeah. Is that the one where is it Ben Affleck?
No, Matt Damon.
Matt Damon.
That's Matt Damon. Yeah, it's Matt Damon.
And it's like healthcare. The people in heaven have healthcare, and the people on the ground no healthcare. But the healthcare is like a machine. It's very interesting. It was very, very, very cool movie. I like that. I like Day After Tomorrow too. Yeah, there's been some banger sci-fi coming out.
Yo, Lance Anthony says, become a Luddite, everyone. I agree, dude. I am so close. If I had $1 million, I'd move out to a farm and I'd never see any of you again. I'd be out, dude. I'd be like, or even if I had internet, I'd have internet on like some sketchy, like far away location.
You're already going to become that. You're going to become that.
Y'all want to like?
I'm heading there. I already feel
you are because you're basically just going to do your show and be like, I don't want to go out.
We can probably just go in together on like an island affordably. Yeah. With like.
I hear one's on sale right now. Little Saint Bart's or whatever. Little Saint whatever.
Yeah.
Little Saint James.
On an island.
What's Epstein's Island? I hear that one's up.
What do you think? You think the property value?
Wait, it has infrastructure. Wait, it already has infrastructure.
It has infrastructure. It has it has a big mansion and everything. Yeah.
$5, Zorro. Hey, let's show some respect. V for Vendetta was a comic first, guys. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, that's fair.
That is true.
Was it a comic or was it a graphic novel?
Oh, graphic novel maybe.
I actually would love to know because you're into like cinematography and stuff. So I'm trying to expand the Coffeezilla universe, Roberto. What's next? What's the next big thing? Chat, tell me, what's the next big thing for the Coffeezilla universe? I've been racking my brain. I've been doing a ton of world building lately, trying to think about the next thing we got. Now we got.
So
Maxwell.
What do you want? So here's the thing: the lore.
Yes.
You have to go. Lore.
Yes.
The lore.
You got the robot. You got the guy.
Maxwell, the base robot. Yeah.
Yeah. I like
so you have to think. So you have to consider the lore, and you have to consider part of lore is also locations, because right now you have a few locations, but then so the expansion is you expand the actual literal physical foundation of the world, because the physical foundation of the world then shapes the characters that play within that world. You also have to think and address about what are the systems of logic within the universe, right? And you have to also think about what other mechanics exist within that universe as well.
I was hoping you tell me.
Well, again, it depends on the thematics.
Tell me what you think. Tell me what you think, guys.
I think you got to go on the theme of righteousness, dude, and self-reliance. That's what the theme is, and that's basically in the world. That's what makes people.
Well, what I want to ask is, what are your favorite cultural influences?
Oh, great question. Cowboy Bebop, Sherlock Holmes. I would say like definitely some Blade Runner vibes for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you used future aesthetic. So a used future aesthetic.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's a retro future. Yeah.
Yeah, grunge, retro future. But the thing is, you need something there that's then also like a little of that dark and that grime. So you need something that adds to the lore that like facilitates that. And you need a location that represents that more the grungier part of that aesthetic for one thing. So you also need a character. You also need some kind of like character in the universe that's kind of like have you seen the latest John Wick? The third one?
Oh no, I haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, I've seen it.
All right, so you need a character close to the one Lawrence Fishburne is playing in that under the table character. You need somebody that's part of the underworld. He's
like a mentor character. Is he a mentor?
Can be, or can be like the person playing both sides or all sides. The person that is basically operates as an information broker. Is like the person who knows everything, is involved in everything, and is on their own side.
Yeah,
so to speak.
That's always a good character. Yeah, that's always a good character.
The person on their own side, the person playing all the angles, seeing everything. But is part of the underworld.
Yeah. It's like in Blood Diamond, or like when Leonardo DiCaprio, they land in Africa. there's one guy who's like, I know the whole area. Like he just knows everyone. He knows where to take them. He knows he's the driver or whatever. He knows how to get around. So you're saying you need someone that has the inside word.
Yeah, yeah.
They know what's happening in the whole community.
You need a man of the streets. You know, you need somebody like that.
I totally agree. So I think I need actually a few new characters. So my ultimate goal, and a lot of people think I'm crazy because they go, dude, you have a show that works. Why are you like adding stuff? And I'm like, dude, I need to do this. I have an itch to tell stories, like real stories, like a show, like an actual show, instead of just me talking to the camera. Yeah. So sort of how I envision it is that it's a show within a show. So just like you might have a show like Frasier, where like the guy has a day job as a radio guy, and then he has this whole cast of characters around him. That's sort of what I'm envisioning.
Mary Tyler Moore Show was a show within a show. Dick Van Dyke was a show within a show. I'm just going back to excuse me. I'm just going back really old school to say that this is not a new idea.
No, I don't think it's a new idea at all.
But even like for the audience who may be like thinking like I'm saying it's not far-fetched that you want to go in this direction. It's something that's been within.
It hasn't been done quite on YouTube though. And I'm like, I don't know. That's the part I'm trying to like deconstruct, because here's the thing. The fourth wall break is weird, because even in those other shows, there's this idea that I think, if I'm not wrong, that the audience doesn't quite exist. Like, they don't look at the camera and go, hey guys,
House of Cards, House of Lies. House of Cards, House of Lies. Those have the asides within them.
They do that.
That's true.
They just talk
and
to the
those
camera.
are also a darker political thriller, which is what you kind of have in a way.
Weird that he gets away with it on that. I've never seen it. I think House of Cards is the first time I saw it.
And then in House of Lies with Don Cheadle.
Yeah, he does it too. That's right. Yeah, I have seen that actually.
I need to bring on some more like basically actors. So I got this guy Technicals for, you know Technicals?
No, I'm not familiar.
He's like a new upcoming YouTuber. It's a cool guy.
Sweet.
But he's my robot voice actor. I think I need a femme fatale character. That's super common.
Because of noir. Yeah.
That's the noir feel. And it's what is classic about the femme fatale is that she is like actually has a problem with money usually. She's got some money problems. And that fits within like the fraud thing. Is like some like you're in bed with the wrong people kind of thing. Like you're in trouble with them. Whatever.
And she made some sales. She had a downline. She's coming to you like, oh, I'm in the downline. Yeah, but she probably scared. That's what ends up happening. Like
I'm thinking, how do I bring those people into my world? Do I have to bring them to, to where I live? I mean, that's kind of like that's a lot of money.
Not necessarily, because the thing is, it depends on. Like, so you can do staging because they've figured out this before, and you can almost think of it as, but doing it with humans. Think of it like Who Framed Roger Rabbit, but with human beings.
Right.
So what I would say is, if they don't have necessarily the resources to do some of what you're doing production wise, at least as far as lighting and screens and things like that, if you can put together a kit that makes sense for and you just finance that, because then you're not doing a massive investment in travel and production. And even in that's a new age thing, is like this is a new way to collab, and it's also using old school techniques from the 80s with what they did with Cool World and Roger Rabbit and Boomer. And
Sorry, somebody begged me to say Nito in the super chat.
Everyone's doing this thing though right now too, where there's like Zoom dramas coming out, like dramas that take place on Zoom, and like other characters come in these creative ways. I mean, they can be really tight too. I mean, you can basically write each character so that they have a certain setting. It's almost like a part of the joke, especially like, let's just say you're in the.
Well, I got Amish coming in. He's definitely going to be a character, by the way.
Yeah. I have my digital ashram.
He has his digital ashram.
And I have a bus. I have a meditation bus that I can travel around with.
He's like the old wise sage.
Yeah. And we can travel around in the meditation bus.
I've come up with part of it. You know how like you have some of these scenes that play out in the old TV set?
Yeah.
That can be some of like that. Some of it can also be even communicating with people via some kind of communication device, kind of like Dick Tracy's watch or Star Wars's holograms and HoloNet, and or also even Solid Snake's setup and everything like that. And that allows interaction in ways that make sense. But you can also give people standalone scenes and monologues and everything like that that they can film on their own, and that you can do the editing and you can do the atmosphere for, and so on and so forth, as long as they film against their screen and so on and so forth. And then you have that, you bring it in, and that's what marries it, because then all they have to do is do their performance, and then you're doing the integration.
You know what could be silly, dude?
Do you think there's an audience for this, like, enough? Because it's so, what I'm realizing is so much work. I'm gonna have to upload less, like a lot less, because it's so much.
But you gotta write it so that you don't have to shoot too much.
I think here's the thing. I think you can have this show, and I think that this show is. I think you can do some op-ed editorial stuff that can be evergreen, that you can kind of like do easily enough to keep giving people who've came for a certain thing. Because when I tell people about when they're pivoting, I tell them you start by adding rather than subtracting. So you keep giving people what they expect and what they come for, but you layer on top of that something new you want to introduce to be a value add. And the thing is, as you build a new audience around the value add, if you start pulling back from the old thing, it doesn't matter, because you've now balanced off the audiences and you've like moved people over, and there's also evergreen stuff to consume. And then if you get to a point to where it actually is viable, you could even find ways to, since you now are expanding the universe, have other people do some of the easy standalone content, not as filler, but again, as something that just fits something that's easy to just walk into versus a narrative.
I mean, like, you know what the easiest thing you could do is you just make them like an undercover agent. So no matter where they are, they're like, hey, I got
love
everything.
the idea
and
of
it comes
cameos.
in.
I love the idea of
and
like,
it just comes in as one of the screens. You know what I'm saying?
YouTuber cameos where like they just drop in the world and they have all these backstories and stuff. I really like that.
And some people's initial cameo could be that
should create a crypto coin around.
They're a back. Some people's cameo could be even that they're like a background like character, at least at the start, that they're just an Easter egg, so to speak. They could be someone that's on a electronic billboard, you know,
or even like, what about these? You ever thought about these? Dude, puppetry's legit. I remember I used to work with this puppeteer, and she did all these kid shows, and then they would make puppets, and then they would do the voice. Like, this is pretty doable on YouTube. I've even seen people do little characters too, like where they're like, what do you mean, Spider-Man? And then the Spider-Man, it's just a figure,
can't
but
do
it'll talk.
puppets. I mean, it doesn't fit.
No, I don't. I agree. I think you have to. Again, this is why establishing the lore.
Yeah.
Keep the aesthetic. You have to establish the lore, and again, you have to establish what does and does not exist in the universe.
Okay, so here was my initial thought. So originally, I had this whole idea. Here's the thesis of like the Coffeezilla show. This was my first thought that made me spin off into like, let me create this wild world. I was watching news shows, and I was watching them talk about these horrific crimes. Like so this young girl was caught in, you know, kidnapped and murdered today, blah, 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 blah. And I'm watching as these beautiful people with their hair perfect, and they're like stacking up their papers, they're shuffling through, they're this beautiful set, everything shiny, reflective.
Like,
it doesn't fit. It doesn't
on my lips.
Yeah, it doesn't punch with me, because I'm like, I don't see this happening in the world that this beautiful person inhabits, right? Whereas I was like, I want to create a show.
Desensitizes you to the
correct. I want to create a show that's as grungy as the stories that I cover.
That is, that is the fascinating thing, and that's because I
where
understand.
It's like I'm telling a lie to get you to understand the truth.
No, it's not even telling a lie. It's that you're immersing people in a narrative, because the thing that you're telling them is true. But the thing is, you know that on the surface, if you just present it as is, that there is a disconnect. And there's also no reason to be invested. There's no reason to be invested in this thing, because what does it mean to me? So you're making it meaningful. You're making people invested. Consider the fact that the things and stories we remember are not even the horrific events on the news. It's the V for Vendettas. It's the Elysiums. It's the Matrix. It's the District 9s. It's a lot of people Hunger Games.
The purpose of the story is that it's a delivery mechanism for a life lesson. And basically the climax of the movie, it's like there's a dark night of the soul. And in that bottom, you have to kill their ego so they can rise up. They get the revelation. That's where you give them the revelation, and then they rise back up to God. That's
well, consider what you even just said yourself, Amish. Like, if you look at it, religion is narrative storytelling as a device that is designed to impart a lesson emotionally. That we have an emotional connection to, and that is memorable and meaningful enough to impact our life and be reflected in the values that we either champion or that we fight for, or that we ourselves then pass on. So again, like, information itself is something that's easy to lose or not even process and everything like that. But stories are alive. Stories remain. Stories remain. Information could be meaningless to people, but you tell a good story, it sticks with them, and they'll be telling their kids about it for years to come.
Yeah, and on some level, Yuval Harari says you kind of like live your life like that. You almost like take in the story, you get the revelation, and then it becomes part of your psyche a little bit. And it informs like how you operate in the world, your morality.
But how do you do that as like
I think as a
YouTuber though?
I think
actually it's been partly done. It's been partly done, not to the extent that you want to do. There were a couple of YouTube cinematic universes in the very beginning. There were, for example, Lonely Girl 15 was the original. If you really think about it.
What's her universe though? She was just like a YouTube girl. Like she made a TV show like that. Like they wrote
it seemed like she was a normal vlogger, and then the thing is, and then it was, is it a scripted vlog? And then it became this meta thing, and it got really dark. It's like, you can look into it, but here's another example of less so, but there wasn't as much continuity in it, but the original Freddie Wong videos, but then later Video Game High School. And then also look at, and then here's another one for you, the longest running cinematic universe and original scripted narrative that exists within YouTube is the Psycho series by Jesse McJuggernuggets Ridgway.
Right.
Yeah. I should probably talk to him. I've kind of ripped him in a few videos because he's sometimes a little goofy, but honestly, he did do one of the greatest narrative series. He's like the king of storytelling.
And it's the longest one. It's the longest one.
I need to talk to that guy. Hopefully he'll talk to me.
What's his name again?
His YouTube name is McJuggernuggets. His name is Jesse Ridgway. He has a really interesting... Yeah, McJuggernuggets.
Sick name, dude.
Yeah. It was like, he's an OG YouTuber. Like, I mean, really OG YouTuber. Like, he was probably one of the first YouTubers I ever watched, to be honest with you. Like,
man, some people are so creative.
And he was, and the thing is, he has a really interesting backstory of being like a film student, had a traumatic, real traumatic event, like that's like you can confirm for real, like brain injury, all that, student loan debt, whole kinds of nonsense. Yeah, like traumatic, and then decided to take all of that and then make something on YouTube and make something around his self, his life, his pain, and an exaggerated personification of himself, and an exaggeration of like his family situation. And like, it worked out. And then he got to do it like forever and for full time, and built this thing and changed the lives of him and his family, paid off all of his student loan debt after a couple of years. And now I think he's either engaged or married now.
There's so many YouTube. I love that. And there's like, and now he's getting married, and that's
it's like, but like, people got to literally watch him go from like feeling like a failure with everything that happened to him and with college and with all the debt and then like actually see him get to tell stories for a living. Like, that's and do it for over a decade.
That's powerful. Yeah, no, I man, damn.
YouTube has so many of those though. YouTube has so many, just like there's always another batch of famous YouTubers.
But a lot of them have these weird stories. There's not a lot of people who do the deep storytelling like that Psycho series guy is. You could count probably on your hand the number of people who really
Psycho series is McJuggernuggets?
Yeah.
Right.
Dude, and it's the longest running like narrative series that's been done on the internet.
He ended it though, right?
No, it can, like, he said he was going to end it like multiple times for different reasons and everything like that, but it actually still exists, and it's he's added to it, but like,
wow,
they're like, I'm trying to think of how many episodes it is, but it's so crazy how many episodes.
Here's one thing that I want to do too, is one thing that I see with a lot of stories is they tend to be like low stakes. I sort of want mine to be sort of high stakes. in the sense of the core philosophical question I think I want to explore is it worth being good in a world that seems to reward the bad?
Sinners.
So I think you have to have more than one question, because that's one great question, right, but it's layered, because I think you have to, if you're doing that, which has been done, by the way, like, okay, so the immediate thing that comes to mind is what's the driver for this? And because like, what's the driver for Batman narratively? Because people reduce it down to just, oh, it's revenge for what happened to his parents. But what it is it's a rebellion against the sense not only of learned helplessness, but also it's an earnest desire from that sense of helplessness, because he wasn't able to do anything then, and he wants to, and so he can't fail to do anything now. Batman's ultimate trauma, which people don't realize, isn't about vengeance, it's about survivor's guilt. It's about the fact that he, Bruce Wayne could be happy, but he can't, because the reality and the truth is that Bruce Wayne died in that alley with his parents, and Batman is what remains.
Yeah.
Like, so you have to think about what is the driving force that makes us root for the main character. It's like, what drives you, detective? Like, you have to, there has to be something in a narrative plot that not only defines our character, but challenges the character and then reaffirms his values and why he does what he does.
Yeah, I mean, you know, in
I think it's watching people getting taken advantage of.
Okay, so go with that. We need to see more of the frustration with that. Right. And we have to see the examples of it, and we have to have background characters, or we have to have, like, if you have these files that you agonize over constantly, like how Batman is always like, because Batman, depending on which mythology you read, he still doesn't know who the Joker is, you know, and he has these files and he agonizes over the puzzle he cannot solve and the enigma wrapped within the enigma
he cannot solve.
I like that. So the thing is, you need that thing that you're chasing. Dr. Gregory House is another good thing for you to look back into and everything like that, in terms of like, one of the things that drives him, besides the deal with his leg and the fact that nobody was able to figure that one out.
Gregory House, you mean the doctor?
Dr. Gregory House. Yes. There are people that he lost on the table that he's never got over the fact that he wasn't able to find an answer quickly enough.
Wow.
So like,
he's fucked up.
So it's those case files to where whenever he sees that again, it's his trigger. So you need like, I think you need like these cold cases as a plot device.
Yeah.
Cold cases as a plot device, and even cold cases that can resurface, or even the one that got away. Like, that's like, that's interesting.
Yeah, who's your nemesis? It's like,
who's the Moriarty? Well, I mean, he would have a rogues gallery. Actually, he would have a rogues gallery.
Well, he has the
what's the rogue gallery? Just like the group of all the different people.
The rogues gallery is like, your assortment of ne'er-do-wells, as they say, your villains, so to speak, or whatever.
Your database of sinners. Your database of
Batman's
sinners.
rogues gallery obviously consists of Poison Ivy, Victor Freeze, Scarecrow.
Who calls it the Rogues Gallery? They just call it that?
It's always been called the Rogues Gallery for a long time in narrative. Ever since the Bronze Age of comics books, it's been called the Rogues Gallery. In fact, the Flash's rogues actually literally are called the Rogues, and they actually even have their own set of rules and their code of conduct. Like, there's a point where they actually decided that they don't kill civilians. They only torment the Flash. And the thing is,
good morals.
It's more of like a code. It's more of like there's honor among thieves, and they have a code. And the thing is, the rogues even went to war with each other once in the Flash universe, where they had kind of a civil war.
Have you seen the movie where they're like, Flash? Dun, 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 da, da. Are you talking about that?
No, you're talking Flash Gordon. I'm talking about the Flash.
Dude, you're not gonna stump Roberto.
There's no stump.
Well, not nerd stuff.
This guy. He's got this,
nerd
dude.
stuff.
Okay,
no,
I'm
asking if you're talking about the movie.
So, okay, so this is fascinating. One thing I struggle with is, do you actually introduce, what's the driver? Is it Is it the characters in the story solving internal conflicts, or is it external, like bad guys?
It's both. It's always both.
It's always both, right? The problem is, like, it's really hard to get the type of scenes that I can do. It's really hard to get, like, I mean, would you do an action scene? Like, how do you even do that? What would you do?
So here's the thing. So here's something you could do with an action scene. An action scene could be.
I really should just be content with normal YouTubing. This is going to be such a nightmare, like development nightmare. But if people like it, like, that's the thing. I want to do it, and if people will follow me down the road. You need a challenge. Dude, I need this, man.
Yeah, you gotta do it.
You need a challenge.
100%.
You've always wanted to do bigger and better things. You had Coffee Break, and then there was like, okay, there's a point where you like hit ceilings and walls where it's like it's not the right challenge 100%. Or it's like whatever. And then you came to this, and then you got the spark again, and now it's time for another level.
You're an artist.
You have the talent.
You're an artist. Go.
You have the talent. You have the talent. It's something different. It's something new. And who says that what you've been doing is what you have to keep doing? And there are other people that are doing similar things now. So you've made a name for yourself there. You paved the way there, but you can do it. You can now do a whole new thing that might be, for all we know, for all we know, this becomes something that other people end up aspiring to doing, that becomes more creative, because let's face it, YouTube has become stale in terms of everything feeling like it's been done.
That's why I'm hunting after this, Roberto. I really do feel like nobody's doing anything new. And I'm like, well, I need to stop complaining about it and go try to do it. The reason nobody does it is because it's so freaking hard to do.
Yeah.
When they're, especially, it's hard to do, especially when it's like, I could just farm this forever and be fine, or farm this for 5 or 10 years and retire and be fine. It's like, so it's like, and the thing is, everyone would say, well, that's a reasonable thing to do. And it is, but creative people aren't reasonable.
Yeah, you would never get into YouTube if you were reasonable.
No reasonable person would do this.
No reasonable person gets into this. Let me read this real quick. I appreciate this consulting so much. I want to continue it if you guys have it. Dude, Roberto, you're the man with this, by the way. You too, Amish.
This is what I love doing, man. This is why I do what I do with creators, dude. It's because this is what's actually, it's fun and it's meaningful, and it's like taking people's creativity, their art and soul, and finding a practical execution of it. It is literally the foundation of how things like art and cinematography and publishing and comic books all come to life if somebody figures it out and like finds a way to keep it alive. Like if you look at when Marvel Comics was going under back in the day, they had to someone had to figure these kinds of things out of how we keep the industry alive and so on and so forth. And the thing is, our creator economy has not been around that long. Correct. And there's a lot that can go wrong in a creator's lifespan, even just what happens as a symptom of boredom. So like I love this because I love watching creative people win, and I'm here because there were creative people in the world. There were the Tarantinos, the Spielbergs, the Lucases. Like where would any of us be without the impact and the influence that had on us?
That's so, and it just makes you want to do that for other people. Noga Adderit, real quick, 15. Thank you, man. We also have David
Zorro,
Macias,
$10.
$5. Coffee has a dark web. Okay. Andrew.
Zorro, $10. I feel like the visual vibe of Mindhunter fits the idea you're discussing, David Fincher-esque in general. Yeah, I do like the look, and you are doing the detective. That's a good point. But it is, your world is, are you keeping yours comedy? Or are you going totally serious?
What do you mean?
It can have both. It can have an element of camp. Even Star Wars had an element of camp, but it's done very well if you look at the fact that they used people who had stage acting capability more than people who came from like television acting per se and everything like that. For example, Ian McDermott, the Emperor Palpatine himself, the voice of the dark side. Ian McDermott is a wonderful talent because he has the right amount of camp. When Emperor Palpatine is doing his thing, he knows he's evil and delicious when he's doing it, and he's just reveling in it. And it's the right amount of camp. And I think that can be fine in anything Steven wants to do, is just the right amount.
They're pretty silly. They're pretty silly, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think Hold on, I got to get through these super chats, then we can talk about everything. Andrei Sergevich, real quick. I'm over here after knee surgery watching this, and I'm starting to panic that the world is ending. I'm going to read the Bible after this. Zorro, never stop the creative expansion. Can't wait to see your ideas come to life. Guest stars. Slots open? Question mark. Potentially, man. Brad Pia, I need one of y'all to scream Nito. I did that earlier. Zorro, if you put in the work, people will appreciate. Thanks, man, dude. Zorro again. Oh yeah. We got Olin Rogers, right? And then did we get the visual vibe of Mindhunter?
Yeah,
dude. A lot of.
Did you watch it? Mindhunter?
I've watched a few. I do like the dark, like detective thing. I think the twist of the cyberpunk is. I really like the future. Cyberpunk is where it's at. Future retro. I love the idea of robots because they're a big commentary on where our world is going. And I think to be culturally relevant, you have to at least engage with automation in some way.
Oh. And they're the comedy element too, because that's where that can be, because they're already something abnormal. Them having the comedic effect versus being overly serious in most cases. That's what Star Wars does for us. That's like, so that framework exists.
You know, what'd be funny too is if one of the robots is like I made Ty Lopez $48 trillion and he didn't even pay me anything. But it's like you're in a dystopian world where these guys, like the right guy has to make the right bot, and then it'll just be like, and it just creates this dystopia. Because you're saying there's a couple of different dystopian things that you want to do in it, right? Like the world has ended or whatever. But shouldn't your end of world have come about because of that moral corruption?
Oh, no. One thing I wanted to do. So this is just a total like visual thing. There are a few visual obsessions that I have. I think you can't do it unless.
Well, walk us through them. I can help probably solve some of these logistics.
Well, okay, this is impossible to fit in my world because I don't think time travel exists in my world. But there's this idea in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy that I've never seen executed right, which is the restaurant at the end of the universe. And basically it's this idea that like you're eating a meal as the world's ending and you're watching the world end as you're eating a meal.
Do it as a dream sequence. Played up as like maybe something real that could be happening, but do it as a dream sequence. And here's the thing, it could be ending because an influencer is president, by the way. And like it's your ultimate nightmare, and you wake up and the screaming and the panic and the like, you know, and that's visually very entertaining.
Well, it's almost
now like, you have a way to pull it off, because now you have a way to fit it in the universe by just having it be a fantasy, having it be a dream, having it be, you know, a nightmare.
I don't know. I might have to make it in a music video. I don't know if I could pull it off. I don't know if I have the balls to pull that off.
You know what I would love to see for you?
It may not even need to be a main episode. It could even just be a standalone thing that exists. And the thing is, it could exist because it could be a nightmare, and the nightmare itself can be a prelude for a trailer for something you are going to do.
Will anybody watch this? Is anyone going to watch this?
No, you know what would be tight, dude? Okay, check this out. Let's just say there's some big bro that's really pissing you off, and then they win a bunch of money, and then they buy all the billboards in town. And then you wake up and you got to see this guy's fucking face. Everywhere you're driving by, he's like, buy the class, buy my MLS. Why aren't you joining? He's killing it. You just can't stop this guy. So if your nemesis is advertising everywhere, every time you turn on a video, he's like, hey guys, I'm still here, whatever. And you're like, I got to stop this guy. I got to fucking stop this guy, this piece of shit. Every time you turn on your
proxy,
phone.
Hang on. If it's all right, wait, actually, if it's an amalgamation of like, all right, so imagine that you cast someone that is an amalgamation of and an amplification of all the people that you've covered.
Yeah, your nemesis.
You also can but also your rogues gallery can consist of proxies for people that you covered that represent very specific things, so that there's not repetition and not a huge amount of overlap, right?
Right.
So you do that, you have that, so that people who exist as representations of their individual type of wrongdoing in the real world exist now in your universe as foils to you, so that you have a way to tackle the problems that they cause. And the thing is, the community will mentally fill in the blanks on who that is or what that is. But the thing is, you are still addressing their form of villainy. It's more about their form of villainy than the individual. And they're just a proxy for you communicating what the damage that this does and who it impacts. And so, so it's that. Just like if you remember Captain Planet, each of the individual supervillains in Captain Planet represented a form of eco-terrorism.
Yeah. Yo, you know what'd be sick, dude? If this guy starts taking out the ads and even puts your face on the ad. It's like John Cristani shooting the money gun, and he's like, "Oh, Coffeezilla? Fuck you, dude. Fucking bitch. Fuck you." And you're like driving, you're like, "I gotta get that shit taken down, man. What is this shit? Just use my face on the billboards on the ad."
Like I also thought one theme I want to explore is that we love to abandon the weak. There's no one really who wants to fight for the weak. The weak are hard to are sort of bad business to fight for.
There is no righteousness.
And
you're just seen as goofy if you're into it.
No. I mean, like you look at Apple, they're just like doing slave labor. I mean, and that's always been the case with a ton. I mean, it's not even to get preachy about it. Tons of people do it, and it just is like it's a thing in the universe that all
apathy.
Yeah.
Most people just don't care. They're just like
that's apathy.
Yeah,
that's apathy. Yeah.
I think that even in the atmosphere, the atmosphere can also portray that, meaning that the atmosphere in terms of like what happens in the background with people just literally just being downtrodden. And then also just like, again, like you look like a cutaway scene to you looking to, and again, it's CGI'd of like a situation. And then you're just like, you're just pained and you like see everybody else just walking by, ignoring it and stuff like that. And then you just like, it's that whole enough is enough or not me, or the clenched fist, or it's like, it's symbolic of that. But the thing is, it has to definitely exist. The person and the people and the underclass that you're talking about has to exist within that universe, and has to be a point of pain that drives the narrative.
Yeah, it's like the moral corruption is seen on the streets. The local person suffers because these guys are running rampant. Nobody can stop them. And like infrastructure deteriorating. I feel like you already have that a little bit though.
Well, I think that, I just figured out part of what you're trying to tell and communicate and represent the story. Because you said yourself, is it worth fighting to be good or to stand for something in a world where that seems to not be allowed, in a world where basically villainy has won, right? Yeah. So the world in the universe that your character exists in is a world where villainy has already won.
Correct. Absolutely.
And the thing is, I think that the narrative device has to be that the detective is aware that it's a losing battle and persist anyway.
No, 100%. No. So this is one of the things about Maxwell, is that his quirk is that he agrees it's bad, but he's done the math and he goes, "You are a fool for fighting. Like, why fight? This is inevitable." He sees the math of it and he goes, "No, this is inevitable."
So he's
Coffeezilla.
He's Adrian Veidt.
I don't know who that is.
Adrian Veidt, Ozymandias, Watchmen.
Oh, sick. Yeah, that's a good character.
Wait.
Watchmen's so good.
Watchmen. Ozymandias in Watchmen named himself.
He's like the super genius who wins in the end, right? Like he just
he became all right. So he was born into wealth, gave it all away, started over, traveled the world from zero, like Alexander the Great.
Oh, he's the mega villain. Yeah,
he's mega
he starts
villain.
out as a hero, but then he realizes the world is screwed, and so he decides the only way to save the world is to become a villain himself. Is the only way to save the world, because he has to dupe the world and he has to create mass horror to get the world to avoid nuclear Armageddon. And he had to then also go up against his former crime-fighting allies, because they knew that they would stop him. But okay, but if you stop me, the world goes to nuclear war, and you guys just say you fight the good fight, but I need to save the world here. So he did the math and he said, literally, to save 8 billion people, I'm gonna have to kill 30 million people. That's sad math. And he goes that route, and he does it. And then the best line that's ever been written in comics was when he quoted to Rorschach and to Owlman. He's like, "Do you take me for a comic book villain? Do you think that there's any chance that I would have revealed my master stroke to you if there was any chance that you could prevent it? Stop me? I did it 30 minutes ago."
Wow. Yeah, he's pretty bad.
It's like, I got chills just even quoting
that's
it.
Great.
It's like,
that's epic.
Easy.
That's great
He
writing.
rips,
That's
dude.
great writing. Well, no. So Maxwell's similar, but he's not a villain. He's like a sidekick who's along for the ride because he's just amused by the futility of humans in a way where he's like, look, what are you doing? Like, you need to stop this. And then the internet detective's like, no, I gotta do it anyways. I still have to fight for this thing. The femme fatale is in between the two worlds, where she's like sort of on board, but she's actually a little bit into the crime herself, I think. I mean, I don't know. I haven't designed all these characters.
That's what I was having with the femme fatale.
Watch Big O. Watch Big O.
Oh yeah, I know the intro to that.
Oh, not the intro, but like watch it again. Yeah. Watch it again. Watch it again.
Big O. What's Big O?
Big O is a dystopian.
I'd have to pull it up. Hold on. I'll play it while you guys go.
It's good. All right, so Big O is a dystopian. It's a dystopian sci-fi noir with elements of traditional crime noir meets Batman meets Gundam, like giant robots.
That's great. It's anime.
Yes, and it's a world. It's a world where everybody X amount of years ago lost their memories and everything, and they're
Netflix?
like, I think it's on one of the streaming services. Actually, I think even Cartoon Network might even just have it straight up all the episodes on their
the Big O
their YouTube channel. But yeah,
I just saw Promised Neverland. I don't know if you've seen that, the first season. It's incredible.
Don't watch the second season if you care.
No, I'm not gonna watch it. I'm not gonna watch it. I know. I heard it's so bad. But first season's so dark, so good.
Yeah, it's so good. But season 2 just reminds us that we have to learn to live with disappointments in life.
They just screwed it up. I mean, we could also learn to like just write it better.
Your piano is like that's very well done, sir.
Yeah, that's hot, dude.
All right. No. I've never actually watched that show. I just heard the theme. I was like, that is a dope theme.
Everything that you love is in this show.
All right, I'll check it out.
Oh, the main character's voice actor for the American is the same voice actor as Spike Spiegel.
I'm in, dude. I'm in. Actually, that show taught me a lot about voice acting.
Yes.
Cowboy Bebop. Because I was like,
Cowboy Bebop. Oh, yeah.
One good voice actor makes a show, dude.
It absolutely does. You know, it's why Cowboy Bebop is one of the anime that allows me to watch dub, to where I can defend dubs.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree with you. I totally agree.
It helps that they're all white too. I mean, it doesn't matter. It just matches up. You're like,
actually, they're not. Not in a lot of them. Not in Cowboy Bebop, for example. There's a lot of like.
Isn't the main guy? He's Asian. The main guy.
Well, Jet is. But
Jet's voiced by a black guy though.
Yes, but Jet's voiced by a black guy. But
the voices just feel natural. It doesn't feel like I'm watching a show it just feels like an American show, kind of. But like, because the characters.
It could be. It's ambiguous because it's also a weird dystopian future.
It's cowboy too, and like there is a bit of a obsession with like Western culture, but like I do like that it is cowboy too, and it's like cowboy in space, so it just works in English. I don't know. I think it's because maybe because it's called Cowboy Bebop.
Well, no,
I just heard it in English, and I'm like, oh, I thought it was just English.
Their whole thing with like music, I mean, that taught me that great music can transform a show. I mean, I'm really inspired by that for a lot of reasons. But I guess I need to just get over like this hurdle. I feel like an initial hurdle of I've never really done this before, so I'm kind of struggling to be like.
Well, you have the robot one out.
You have to sort of give yourself permission to do it. You have to be like, no, we can do this.
That's the thing. And sometimes that's why I really help like creators with, because that is the biggest struggle is like, how do I do the next thing? Or like, what can I do this? Or like, I mean, you can, there's like, you have like you, in your case, you have the talent, you have the vision, you have these ideas that have been in your head, and you have an audience that genuinely cares about you and wants to support you as a creator. And again, that's why I say that the practical thing is addition versus subtraction. You don't completely code switch on an audience. You add something new to them for them to embrace and to become a part of, and you also attract a new audience along the way, and it all balances out. And like I said, even for the things that people like, and even like for the idea, for example, of doing news flash like content to let people know of things that they should look out for. Like, for one, there's nothing that says that there can't be something creatively and cinematically done in terms of that. If literally just even something as clever as finding a way to literally put yourself into the television screen and do it like that. And then there's also expansion wise, there's nothing to say that you can't bring on more people that do some of the standalone, easier to churn content and just expand.
Yeah, no, that's very true. I think one thing that I'm thinking about too is one thing that I love about virtual production is one thing I'm obsessed with. Okay, so I think Nelk really innovated on the merch game. Like, I mean, they're unbelievable. They make commercials for merch, for everything. Like, they're so good at it. They're so good at it.
And
I want to do that
to cancel culture.
I want to do that, but with virtual production.
I think you can, dude. Lucas invented the technology to make Star Wars possible.
Lucas is a boss, dude. Inspiration.
Yeah. So, like, think about it. You could coin the techniques that innovate virtual production in online content creation, regardless of platform. Obviously, your home is YouTube, and that's where most things go. But think about it. You can truly innovate and actually build something that enables the future of how people express creative ideas.
Well, I think right now we're stuck in this analog, you have to find a place to shoot it, People haven't realized the wave. Like, the wave is this virtual production stuff.
The people innovating it is like, it's what you're doing. It's what Dr. Disrespect is doing. Yep. It's what the VTuber community,
VTubers are doing
that's so dope. That's the VTubers and the V streamers in their virtual, like, it's human beings, but it's animated puppets, but it's not physical puppets, but like virtual anime puppets, as like rigged to the mannerisms of the humans standing in place of them. And they're doing their own cinematic universes. They're doing collabs. They're doing, like, it's this whole, like, Amish, you got to look into it, but you'll find it fascinating.
No, YouTube, the cream is rising.
I've thought of one of the things that I thought would be an easy way to implement, like, some kind of a femme fatale in my show, was to get a VTuber to do it.
Yeah.
That could be interesting, because, again, that makes me think of Cool World.
What's Cool World? Never seen it.
You'll remember Cool World?
$5 from Zim real quick. I believe gene editing will usher in a wave of complicated translationalism. The movie Gattaca comes to mind. I love you, Habibis. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Real quick. Okay. No, that's it. Okay. Sorry. Cool World. What is that?
Cool World was that the 80s or 90s? I think it's the 90s. Cool World was in the 90s. It's basically I think it might be R-rated. It's basically R-rated Roger Rabbit.
Yeah, it's like, you know what it was, Steven?
R-rated Roger Rabbit.
So Roger Rabbit and this movie were both these big innovative things because they were real people, but then they had a cartoon character in it, and everyone was like, "Oh my god, this is crazy."
It was real humans interacting with cartoon characters and everything like that. Yeah. And the thing is, the dark noir femme fatale element that you're looking for, and the grunginess and griminess, is represented in Cool World. And the main part of the main plot is that this cartoonist and artist that, like, created this comic book that was like a like pop culture like phenomenon, he gets out of jail or whatever because he went to jail for some stuff and everything. He's also a little bit of an alcoholic drug addict type. He's like, he's that kind of artist, right? He's like an artist and writer and that type. But the thing is, he's a big deal. He's kind of a big deal. And he gets out of jail and he goes back to his art studio or whatever, and he like has these things where, like, his whole thing with this comic he made, he thinks he's just having these weird trips, like off of like a drug trip, or like, or that he envisioned this world. But the thing is, he actually is just once in a while being transported to an actual different dimension. And the thing is, he's just kind of ripping that, and everything thinks he's a comic book genius, whereas he's just really translating the experiences of this dimension that he goes to every once in a while when he goes on these like trips or whatever, right? And he finds out that there's actually another human that he's never encountered in Cool World before that's been there for longer than him, and that one is a detective, and he kind of polices Cool World and keeps things on the up and up.
So it is a lot alike.
It's Brad Pitt, right? Is it Brad Pitt?
Yeah, I think it was Brad Pitt. Yeah, it was Brad Pitt was the detective.
It's like him. He's in a cartoon though. It's like
a real guy in a world. It's like Cool World is like, and there's like rules in this universe. It's like with like You know, there's like actual rules in this universe and systems of how things work.
Yeah, do you know the channel Quinn's Ideas?
No,
Have you heard of this guy? He does Quinn's amazing Ideas. Channel. Probably like hundreds of thousands subscribers plus, but he just reviews a lot of Isaac Asimov and like science fiction stuff. Incredible channel. He just explains all of the whole history of like, I just love the science and the history inside of a science fiction.
How science fiction becomes science fact, basically.
Yeah. Like Foundations, the stuff that he talks about in that video about like this, because they're like an intergalactic empire. And the stuff he talks about them going through, I'm like, this is all stuff. This is our practice.
That's what I was talking about. Like we are living through the beginning of the fall of our empire.
There's a quote in there that was hilarious. It's like, mankind started to become so specialized that they increasingly knew everything about an increasingly small amount of the total pie of human knowledge, to the point where we discovered that every man knew, or every single, like each man would know everything about nothing.
Yes. We're already kind of there, if you think about it.
If you no.
But we just choose. We choose our like little.
You choose your little
rabbit holes.
You choose your lane. But yeah, there's an interesting idea there too, which is psychohistory. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
I love that concept. So
I love that so much. I've kind of dabbled in it. You know, there was an actual comic in the Fantastic Four where like Reed Richards made it a real science instead of a pseudoscience.
So wait, it's a real science inside of a comic book, though.
Yes.
That's hilarious.
Reed Richards and Reed Richards and Dr. Doom were having like a philosophical conversation about it.
Oh wow. It's kind of like how Klingon is a language from Star Trek. It's like they made the real language as a book. These guys were like, oh, this is a system of therapy, and they made the whole system.
By the way, I can actually tell you that psychohistory is real, because guess what psychohistory is?
Well, it's like statistical.
Psychohistory already exists.
It's supposed to be like human psychology is predictable in a large enough crowd.
Yes. And when combined with statistics and predictable models. And what do you call that? And we're experiencing it right now. What do you call that?
I mean, algorithms.
Internet.
Social media algorithms.
Yeah,
social media algorithms take large groups and subsets of human behavior and psychology and create predictable, scalable models using mathematics to ultimately predict and anticipate our wants, needs, and desires, aka what not only what we want now, but what we will want, and put it in front of us for the purposes of monetizing in the form of commerce and content. Psychohistory already exists.
Well, it's already like it's how they do with the elections. It's like they took Trump off. A lot of people are saying that they took him off, and it's like the social media network can decide who our president's going to be. They can like kind of influence our politics like that. They can take people off. They're censoring. They're showing one side one thing, the other side another thing. So it's
that's the thing that in Foundation is like, oh, what if I then become Hari Seldon and then basically knowing like what levers to pull to then alter the outcome.
Right.
The mass manipulation.
And you can argue that the tech companies are essentially Hari Seldon.
Yeah. And it's crazy. There's media moguls are always like these megalomaniacs. Like they're always like super powerful and they have this massive control. And it's just happened the same way with Facebook and thing. But back in the day, this happened with newspapers. There'd be like in the like one of the first movies, like Citizen Kane. It's about this guy who's going after this newspaper mogul. So in real life, the guy owned like every newspaper. And then in the movie, he did a rip on this guy, a political thing. And then in real life, that newspaper owner, he ruined the guy's life who made Citizen Kane. He's like, I'm going to fuck you up because you fucking aired out the dirty laundry about me and my girlfriend. I'm going to fuck your shit up. And then he didn't let it get released in anything. And then he fucked up the guy's career. That guy's name was Orson Welles, right? Roberto, you know Orson Welles?
I believe it was.
Actually, he was like this super genius and he made Citizen Kane. And then, but it was very much about like him against a media mogul. And then in real life, they beefed.
There's an incredible movie also called F is for Fake. If you haven't seen it, it's on YouTube, full movie.
Oh wow!
By Orson Welles. That guy.
Orson Welles. Yeah. He's a legend. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, he made Citizen Kane, and then this newspaper mogul is like, "Fuck you, I'm gonna fuck you up." And even while he was making the movie, the newspaper mogul told him, "Do not include this story of me and my mistress or whatever." And Orson Welles said, rock and roll, say, fuck you, babe, rock and roll. He put it in, and this guy just said, fuck you, I'm ruining your life. And then there's a movie called RKO 271.
You know what that reminds me of? That makes me afraid for Marco. Because, like, Marco would be Orson Welles.
You're seeing a Marco. I'm seeing Peter Thiel beefing with people.
No, I'm seeing Marco would be Orson Welles in that scenario.
Yeah, Marco is. Yeah. He is going up against like these giants for sure.
Yeah, no, I'm like, that's what terrifies me for him.
It's terrifying. Yeah.
For him. I'm afraid for him.
I don't think these guys are gonna do the damage because that was like William Henry Hearst or something. He owned every newspaper. Like, he really ruined this guy. These MLM guys, they seem shaky. They seem like up one day, down the next day. They're not like so rich.
Don't ever underestimate what an unhinged person in the 21st century is actually capable of.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, yeah, I hope not.
Yeah, I would hope not too, but I think that we know better at this point.
Yeah, I mean, you've been doxxed a couple of times, right, Steven? How bad do you think you could get violence-wise?
Thanks for bringing that up, Mish. Let's just keep talking about that.
I mean, it's happening. Right. It's happened to you a couple times now.
Like, all right, pivot off.
Not dogs, but like just what could happen.
Yeah.
The cost of being right.
It's wild in the YouTube streets.
Here's the thing. Just as a general rule, you don't talk about it. That's the whole rule, by the way. So now that we brought it up, let me explain it. You never talk about it.
Yeah.
Why? Because you give those people attention, and they will think they're getting something out of it. The only thing you could do, this is why you'll never see a creator talk about like their harassment, whatever. It's not because it isn't happening. It wasn't until I became a YouTuber, talked to other YouTubers, that I realized, oh, this is a huge problem. No one can talk about it though. It's like you're held prisoner.
Yeah, no, there's a list. Actually, there's a list of things, literally a list of things we cannot talk about, because it also, if nothing else, gives people ideas of, what to do. Like, it's like
what are you talking about? Like an actual list?
No, like I'll talk to you offline about there's ways to do things that are very unsavory, that if you talk about what has been done to you, then it gives people the idea to do those things to other people 100%. And to you, and so
people don't bring that up, like just in general, like because other YouTubers don't want to talk about it
for a good reason. No, it's not weird. It's like it's a safety. It's like an actual
it's like a safety issue.
Yeah.
Because you just talk about it, and then people think about it and they go do it. Like XQC was just talking about this. Stuff was happening at his house so much he had to literally moved houses because of what was happening.
Yeah.
I know YouTubers.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, how bad do you think you could get from Marco? Like,
I know people. I know people who have moved 3 times in the last 5 years, specifically around. Yeah.
Yeah,
granted, you could argue, must be nice to afford it, but it's like, it's not really nice to uproot your family and have to do that and have to deal with it.
I hate moving. It's moving when I volunteered to move. I hate it. If I had to move because some of that shit, oh my God, I'd lose my mind. I'd want to kill someone. Yeah. It's too much.
Yeah. There's all kinds of things that have happened that are crazier and worse. I've heard horror stories from YouTubers about a lot of things happen in the real world that they won't talk about. There's like, and not just for like legal reasons, but just, and again, not I'll be the next one. Like, cause there's just like unhinged people out there.
Well, Chris Hansen just did a whole piece about some guy. He just did a documentary about someone. I forgot what it was called, but it was John Swan covered it first.
I know
Onision.
Yeah, Onision. Yeah, some of these YouTube beefs have gotten so silly and unhinged, and like, you were seeing everything from like crying breakdowns on YouTube, like breakups and breakdowns, to like, I made it look like I was gonna hurt someone, like, or for a prank video or whatever.
No, but the thing that people don't talk about is it's not even the other YouTubers. It's like there are people in the world that like, because YouTubers, at least there's a public figure there. There's some level of accountability in theory. But like, we're talking about like people that you don't know who you are, that are out there in the streets somewhere and you don't see them coming. You get what I'm saying? So like that's where we'll leave it before we like go any further on that rabbit hole and everything like that. Let's go back to talk about cinematic universes.
Let's talk about something else. Top Nash, this convo is perfectly explanation for why I don't use my real Identity, correct, man.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
The bear market is here. Bear market! You're here.
Yeah. But
that's such a funny nickname, dude. That's one of your all-time great nicknames, Amish.
Well, that's his character in your show. Like, I mean, could you not have him on and you guys both?
I do need to bring him on. He's like some Jim Cramer character, but he goes,
yeah.
Welcome to Bad Market.
Bad Market.
That would be a great segment to where it's like you're sitting there and you're flipping through the channels, and then it's like, oh, my favorite, like or something.
Yeah. I mean, you could even call him for advice. You could just call him on the monitor and be like,
no, you call into
his
show. You call you call into his show on the show.
So, what do you think of this stock?
Buy it.
Welcome to Bad Market.
It is Bad Market. It's like cryptos are us, man. Everything is just crypto's going up. So fear, uncertainty, doubt, down. Crypto going up.
Be gone.
But be gone. Fear, uncertainty, doubt, be gone.
Dude, this convo has been super great, man. I very much enjoyed it. I'm gonna have to just talk to you off air, Roberto.
Yeah.
I didn't know you're so into this stuff, man.
Yeah, dude. It's like, I mean, it's one of those things to where it's like, I mean, a lot of people till recently, even though like I've talked about before, they didn't realize I was super like into like photography until they started seeing me start to post some of my wildlife photos and my prints, and like, you know. It's everybody is layered and they have their thing. I didn't know how much you were into it until you and I started talking about it, and like you started doing stuff with it, and like, you know, we started talking about like that disrespect, and like, so like there's people have all these little fascinating layers, and then when you get to see what they're passionate about. But I mean, I am a huge nerd. Like I'm like, it's all I like. It's like if I hadn't gotten into like education YouTube, like I might have been a pretty decent like pop culture, nerd culture. Like maybe I would have been like Comics Drake or somebody, or Emergency
I think you like
Awesome,
Quinn's Ideas. It's Quinn's Ideas. He does the reviews of Isaac Asimov books. It's so tight. I think you'll like it.
Yeah, I'll check them out.
There's so many great channels like that though, just reviewing stuff. Amazing.
Well, BookTube is actually really cool. Like people would be surprised at like how popular certain BookTubers are.
Yeah, the creativity is just wild on YouTube. Like you can do really anything. Like you can have your show and then make a whole other universe behind it. Like there's just, I've just seen everything.
Well, it's because it's a truly like, I know people don't believe in meritocracy anymore, but YouTube's pretty damn close. Like bar a few issues, YouTube's pretty damn close.
I agree.
Yeah, and everything like cartoons. Like there's just banger cartoons on here.
And now with YouTube Shorts, people are finding like people who can break through before are finding some love with YouTube Shorts, and like there's people getting out there, and there's a market for so many cool. Like you ever watch this? You ever watch Meat Guy Max?
No.
Oh my God!
I'm vegetarian though. Is he doing all meat recipes?
Yeah, it's all. But
I'll give it a
it's
chance.
short form, highly produced cinematic content around meat, and it's amazing.
What?
Yeah, Meat Guy Max. Take a look. It's like, it's mind blowing. It's like legit mind blowing, and the edits and the thought, and it's like it's so clean. It's like it's cinematic.
Wait, hold on. We gotta watch a little bit of this, and then we gotta wrap up after this. Hold on.
Sure.
Let's go.
I think I took someone's like
this
YouTube
guy?
class, like free.
When I say today is gonna get crazy, let's get to it.
Incredible steaks, fully functioning tomahawk. This video is a roller coaster, so buckle up. This is a stunning piece of meat. American Wagyu from cow steaks. It's an absolute beast. Run your knife against the small angle. Around 250, low temp means even cooking. No applewood, but we're still cooking low and slow. Okay, tomahawk.
Wow, dude, sick.
Yeah,
it is. It's like, it's really good. And his shorts, the hard cuts in his shorts, and when he does his shorts content, is even better. It's like, that was like a regular video, but his YouTube shorts are like really good.
Yeah, man, I'll check it out.
Yeah.
There's so much in that remixing. Like, I think I was watching some YouTube class about like how to come up with YouTube channel ideas, and one of their things was like just take two different kind of things. So like cinematic, and then insert blank. It's like it was one of their like angles or whatever.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, that's huge.
That's PewDiePie. Yeah, like you know, you can. But the thing is, there's so many ways to be creative with that. Even in choosing the components of what you remix, kind of like making an interesting dish, making an interesting piece of food. It's about like, well, what are my components? What are my ingredients? But then your process not everyone can have the same ingredients, but then what's your process? How are you preparing it? How are you cooking it? What spices are you using? And then even, is there performance art in the cooking itself? Is there a performance in the preparation of the food? That's the thing that becomes really interesting, is just this creativity, this unfathomable amount of creativity where, I mean, we have the tools to do almost anything.
Yeah.
Dude, I love it. I think that's a good way to wrap it. Yo,
that is a good way
to wrap it.
It's
12:30, so we got to wrap it.
Yeah,
Amish, it's 1:30 over there. Yeah. Thanks, guys, so much for coming on the show. We appreciate you as always. Thanks for hearing me out. Y'all are all my therapists tonight. Congratulations. Y'all got to walk me through.
Yo,
give me
sounds
some help.
by $2.
Oh,
Hodl to Zilla. Let's wrap it up. HODL.
Oh, thanks, man. Thanks, sounds. Bye-bye. All right. Thanks, guys, for watching. We will see you in the next episode. See ya.
Peace. Love you, baby.
I'm a scammer. Gonna rip you off, take you down.